It's Saturday, and we're here at the Hamptons International Film Festival in front of one of our favorite places, the 1770 House. This is a great place right here on Main Street. We highly recommend it. It's terrific. But today you're in store for a lot of filmmakers and the behind-the-scenes stories. So we really appreciate you tuning in. Stay with us. The show is to follow. We're here with the guys, the dynamic duo of the movie For the Birds. Not the Birds, they're not like the Hitchcock guys, but they're the grandsons of Alfred Hitchcock. It's great to have you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Pleasure to be here.
I lied, but For the Birds, East Coast premiere, documentary feature, U.S. 92 minutes. 92 minutes long. That's terrific.
Yeah, thanks.
For the Birds. First of all, give us a thumbnail sketch without blowing the exciting ending, so that the people at home can be tantalized.
Yeah. So the film
This is Jeffrey, right?
I'm Richard.
Richard?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeffrey.
Yeah. So the film is about a lady who lives with 200 pet ducks, chickens, geese, and turkeys in and around her house, and her husband is growing tired of the situation.
Oh, wow.
And this animal rescue group comes in to try to help take the birds off her hands, and that's where the story begins. And over the course of 5+ years, we captured a twisty-turny story that goes places beyond our imaginations.
How did you find this lady?
Through the animal sanctuary that first heard about her. I was volunteering there as a part of my senior project in college. Jeffrey and I went to college together. And
For veterinary?
no, liberal arts degree.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was looking for a story about animal rescue, and I volunteered at this animal sanctuary and happened to be there when they heard about this lady who had all these birds.
And she was okay about being photographed and everything?
Yeah, she was really proud of her birds and really loved them a lot, but seemed to have too many, and it was out of hand, so that was part of the tension of the situation. So.
And birds are hard to keep. I mean, you have to... I mean, they fly off, they make a mess, they eat all different things.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of work for her, and that became really the center of her life, and that's what led to some of the tension in her relationship. And
No children.
She did have a daughter. Yeah, this was after the daughter had moved out of the house, though. She'd grown up. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Unbelievable. And the birds were well taken care of by her, right? You would say?
Well, that's part of the question of the film, is that the animal sanctuary thought that they weren't being as taken care of as she thought, and so there was kind of a bit of a debate over that, and it led to, ultimately the authorities had to get involved and take more of the birds, and we don't want to give away too much of the story,
don't.
but yeah.
But the birds were delicious. No,
No one eats the birds in the film, yeah.
no animals were harmed in the motion picture.
Yeah.
Right? That's important.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of it is that there you go, and it's in upstate New York, and sweet woman, sweet lady.
Yeah.
So the viewers are compelled to her. They identify with her because she's like
Yeah.
Yeah,
a loving thing. But and the other day was the feast of St. Francis of Assisi. That is the I guess the environmental saint, the saint that had birds all over him. And when you think about that, and anytime there's a problem with animal rescue, that's the go-to guy, the guy that goes in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
this is really a film about a lot of people who love these birds a lot.
compassion is
Yeah,
involved.
and we've tried to make a film where you can really feel for everybody in a situation.
Now, do you have distribution?
Not yet. We're working on it,
Yeah.
and
Okay. Now,
hopefully.
there are a lot of people
yeah.
in town,
Yeah.
both here and in New York City, that are, have these huge trust funds, right? And you're sitting there and you're looking at this thing and saying, wow, that's something I can get behind. That would be a cool thing to help distribute, and why
Yeah.
not, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys, look at
Yeah,
them. They don't look like shifty guys that are doing any bird movie, Good guys.
No, we're hoping this festival can help us with our future.
Well, that's the key, and you're enjoying yourself being in town? And
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
Now,
Yeah.
Hamptons is a special place for us. We
Yeah.
came here and worked on the movie a little bit, actually, during the edit
Excellent.
process.
Some of the editing happened here.
Where'd
yeah.
you do the editing?
We did most of the editing in New York City, but we had a friend out here who hosted us for a couple weeks to do a little edit retreat. So
Great place
yeah.
to edit.
Yeah.
Clear your
Unbelievable.
head,
Yeah,
creative.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, the goal of this, I mean, how do you visualize, like what would be like the target audience? It would be people environmentally conscious or
Yeah.
animal lovers or?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a love story that's kind of a human and animal love story. So the film ultimately goes pretty deep into the story of this marriage, and so we hope it can affect
They're still
a lot
married,
of people.
right?
Yeah. Well, that's that's
Part of the story.
part of the
Okay.
story we don't want to give away.
Yeah,
But
see, I just want to trip them up a little
but things yeah, it's a bit rocky, but there's actually like a full arc to the marriage, and there's a lot of love there.
Good.
So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. For the Birds, East Coast premiere documentary feature here, 92 minutes. It's going to be shown at UA 5 and 4. And I think you guys have a website, right?
Yeah, forthebirdsdocumentary.com.
forthebirdsdocumentary.com. I wish you a lot of luck. Again, it's Richard Miron and Jeffrey Starr.
Yep.
Jeffrey Starr.
Richard and Jeffrey. Yep.
Richard and Jeffrey.
Yep.
Excellent. And your next project, what do you visualize that to be? Or has this done it?
We're not sure yet. This is just the beginning of our journey of sharing this film. So.
And what film school? Did you go to film school?
No, we both went to Yale, just for
Liberal
bachelors of arts. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yale's a great school. That's terrific. Well, you should be proud of your education.
Thank
Did
you.
a good job.
Yeah.
For the Birds, go see it. We highly recommend it.
Yeah.
All right, the film is Walden, and I'm here with the director, screenwriter, all the way from Switzerland, right?
Yes,
Danielle Zimmermann.
yes.
Welcome, Danielle.
Hello, welcome.
We're here in the Hamptons. You got a beautiful film, Walden.
Mm.
The people at home they want to know a little bit about the film, not all the gory details and below the ending, but give like a little thumbnail sketch of why you did it, what the synopsis is a little bit.
Yeah, so the movie is showing a transport from a tree. We cut it in a monastery in the deep countryside of Austria, and we cut the tree in wooden sticks, boards. You say boards, sleds, wooden, yes. And this material we transported from Austria into the middle of the Amazon to the upper Rio Negro.
Really?
Yes.
Unbelievable. That's an unusual twist. Why that route?
No, the idea is in a way quite simple, but it shows a lot about our society, because we did a transport not so usual. I always told to the people we do a transport reverse transport, because they are still many material coming from the Amazon. They are bringing it in the whole world like this. So it's a small gesture we did, because I'm coming from the visual art, and the most of my movies I did, they are related to kind of installation or action in the context of visual art in the public space.
Like furniture making or any wood in your background, you had that skill, that talent, that was an interest that you had in woodworking?
Sorry, can you tell the...
No, you made the project involves wood.
Yes.
But your background or your hobby, is it crafting in wood or?
So originally I'm a wood sculpture.
Ah, okay.
I learned really this kind of tradition in Switzerland, and what is left is the wood somehow, yes. But I did many installations with always the same wooden slats.
And how did the people down in the Amazon receive your gift or your token of reciprocity?
Yeah, this was quite interesting, because we went to how do you say it, Indian community?
Yes.
Yes. And there, for example, we did also a documentary movie about this action, and we did many interviews, and in one interview the choreographer of this community what was choreographed stick dance. So this was quite nice that we came with wooden sled to this community.
And did they like it? Did
He
they
said
say, hey, where'd you
yes.
get
He said they were very curious of this. They could imagine how they could imagine that they could not imagine why we brought this, but
What was it,
he
oak?
said
Oak
that I should leave the material there. Then he starts to think in the interview, and he said, no, he understands the idea because it's more about the message we are doing. So it's nice that other communities in the world
Use your wood.
can see what we did. And there was
What
also
type of wood? What type of wood?
is a normal
Oak?
Fichte. In German you say Fichte.
Fir tree. Okay.
Fir tree. And there was also an old lady, and she was quite beautiful. She said, you bring a young soul to the old souls.
Right. Young soul to the old soul. That's terrific.
You can say this? Yes.
Yes,
all
that was
right.
perfect. That was wonderful. Again, it's New York premiere, Switzerland and Austria, two
Yes.
great countries.
Yes.
And it's 100 minutes. And Daniel, I think you have a hit. That's terrific because it has a nice theme to it. You know, especially now when these forests are being depleted. You took the reverse. You took a different tact on it, which is very, very clever. It's a clever way to do it. And it's a beautiful movie, very well shot. If you're into the environment, if you're into the notion of Walden, the peace, the whole idea of a World One community, I think that message comes across. I wish you the best. Do you have distribution? Is the film being distributed?
Yes, I have a agent in Paris.
Good.
She's watching to bring it to all the festival or to the festival.
Very good. So you're going to be making the rounds of the festival, your
Yes,
agent.
and there is also the grasshoppers in New York.
Right,
I think
right.
you know them.
Yeah, sure.
They also have the movie.
Okay, Danielle, I understand that this film was shot, you had maybe 4 or 5 scenes and very, very few cuts, so it's like a continuum. And could you explain to the viewer, first of all, your equipment that you used to shoot this, and secondly, just how you decided as a director or producer of this thing to make it work with that sweep of a shot?
Yes, to shoot this movie, we had a special turning head who was turning really precisely and slow. And in the movie we have 13 places we were shooting 360 degrees, and the 360 degrees are around 9 minutes. And what I was interested very much is in the place, to show in a precise way the places we have to go through. No, yes, the beauty somehow out of it, but there is also this relation to Henri Thoreau, because he really had a precise view on our society, and I think this movie does it too.
Excellent, very good. And again, the website for the viewers at home if they want to learn more about it.
The website is walden-film.com.
Walden-film.com. So go look it up, go see the movie, it's in town, and welcome to East Hampton, welcome to the Hamptons Film Festival, and we really appreciate it. We're honored to have your movie. Thank you. Go see that movie. this changes everything. We're here with this exquisite group of people that are the filmmakers, the producers, the whole engine that goes behind this fabulous movie, U.S. premiere. And I'm here with Mr. Donahue, Tom Donahue.
Tom Donahue, I'm the director.
Maria Geis, I'm a subject in the film.
Subject.
Yeah, she doesn't mean she's an interviewee in the film.
Oh, yes.
That's all.
A loyal subject of the
And
crown.
the beautiful kimono.
Carrie Ann Flynn. My company is New Plot Films, and I am one of the producers on the film.
Ilan Arboleda, I'm one of the producers as well.
What company?
Creative cast. Don't they look like the money people, these two? It's amazing. It's terrific.
Producers.
They're the producers.
Without them, there would have been no movie. Actually, without her, too.
So this movie, which I hear a lot of great things about, first of all, give us a little teaser, thumbnail synopsis of what it's about.
It's a feature documentary about the systemic roadblocks that women face in Hollywood and why that should matter to you, the audience, and the rest of the world. And who's in it? God. Gina Davis, who's one of my executive producers.
Sure.
Meryl Streep, Taraji Henson, Reese Witherspoon, Shonda Rhimes, Jessica Chastain, Cate Blanchett. Pretty minor.
So you got no names.
Nobody's.
These are like
Yeah.
just they were eager to be part of this.
They were, because it would raise the level of their fame.
Level of their output and their contracts.
But
probably.
I think there's 98 different interviewees in the film, and all incredible
And it
people.
focuses on what's happening.
Focuses on workplace discrimination, focusing on Hollywood, because what happens in Hollywood has global implications around the world. 80% of the media that we watch around the world is made in Hollywood, and 90% of those films are written by men, and say 96% are directed by men. So how does that end up causing horrible representation of young women on
So
screen?
if you're a young woman in film school and you aspire to be a director,
Yeah, and film schools are 50-50, believe it or not.
yeah,
So there's no lack of female talent. They just can't get through the pipeline.
through it. So it's
Yeah.
like being an NBA basketball player and you're
Exactly.
no chance.
Right. Good analogy.
So what is the logjam? What have you determined to be the process? Because when you look back at the educational process and women's exposure to all great things, how come there's no pay parity? How come there's no jobs? There's not a huge group of female directors or cinematographers. Why?
Well, I'm a very good example of it. I'm the person who instigated the ACLU campaign and the EEOC investigation for women directors that started in 2015. And the reason was my own personal experience. I entered into graduate film school at UCLA as a young woman at 50-50. Half my class was men and half my class was women. But when, even having succeeded and made award-winning films, when I stepped onto the professional playing field, it turned out that only 4% of studio features were directed by women, only 12 or 13% of episodic TV shows were directed by women, perhaps 1% of top commercials directed by women. So basically I stepped onto a playing field that was vertical. And I could not get work, even after directing a feature film with A-list actors. I could not get paying work. After 15 years of trying, I finally decided to, I looked around and I saw it wasn't just me, it was all my women friends, my classmates, and that all these guys who maybe didn't have any more talent than the women
They were guys.
but they were guys, and they were becoming the voice of our civilization. Their films were winning the Oscars. They were traveling around the world and making millions of dollars and influencing our cultural narrative, and we were invisible. And I really felt that I needed to stand up and do something to take a stand for women as a collective.
Now, if it happens in a progressive industry as the film industry, how much worse is it in industries that don't have that?
Hollywood, the United States entertainment media industry is the worst violator of Title VII, which is equal opportunity law, of any industry in the United States of America.
And when you add to that what's happened, and we don't have to look at that deep into the headlines, the sexual discrimination, the
It's all
hassling.
related.
It's all related because there's that feeling of superiority, of dominance.
But Reese Witherspoon in the film says that she's been acting since she was 14. She would sometimes on a set of 150 men be the only woman on the set. So that can open up a lot of possibilities of harassment and abuse.
Sure.
But sexual harassment and abuse are merely one of many symptoms of employment discrimination and wage disparities. Really, sexual harassment and abuse comes as the result of a power imbalance. And the only way to really, the most effective way to really correct that power imbalance is to make sure that our industry enforces equal employment opportunity
Shine a
law.
light on it.
Title 7. It's a law. We need to obey it.
And mandate the hiring of women so that that inequity is addressed.
Absolutely. Do you see it opening up? You do?
Well, there's just been an extraordinary revolution of change, particularly since the Me Too movement happened. But I would argue that the real shift in numbers occurred because of the emphasis that was put on the law, on Title VII, the ACLU going to our federal government, the EEOC, and an investigation getting launched. And from the beginning of that, when I started, the number of female director hires in television was at about 13%. This year, it's going to clock in at about 21%. So in 4 years, that is a massive, 5 years, that's a massive increase in numbers, but it needs to go up to 50%.
Sure. I mean, there's 50% in the film schools. The industry should reflect.
And there's 50% in the population.
Right.
51.
51.
51. That's amazing. And you guys got behind it. What drew you to the project? I mean, it's obvious, but you're putting your money where your heart is, which is terrific. And what do you see with this? What's your vision? What's the payoff of something like this?
Well, I got involved with Creative Chaos because I thought that they're making films that create change. They see an issue in our society and they want to address it. And when we started talking about this film and the underrepresentation of women in Hollywood, that resonated with me. For the workplace and C-suite positions in corporations and politics, and it was something that I've experienced as a woman, and so I wanted to be a big part of this project. And I was actually shocked at some of the statistics when we really started digging deep into this.
It's amazing. You don't realize that because you say, it's probably not as bad as they say it is. What's the problem? But it is. It really is.
It's
and it
worse.
takes something like this movie. This changes everything. I hope it does change, everything, because there's the same thing in the world of academia, where you have, there's a marked discrimination against faculty, female faculty. They hire a male, really 1, 2, 3, and a female person who has more credentials is kind of overlooked, which is not correct. And it happens in law, it happens in medicine, and all these other places that really need to be overhauled. And it's the law. You can't discriminate, and yet it's openly violated without, there's no, if you cross the street and you jaywalk, you get a violation. But if this happens, if you're an industry leader and you end up doing that, and you say, well, they'll never catch me, I could do whatever I want.
Lack of accountability.
Lack of accountability, lack of social restraint, they should be shamed for doing something like that.
And gender equality in our storytelling, in our entertainment media, can influence gender equality around the world. And gender equality, if we want a more just and equitable society, gender equality is something that really must be advanced internationally. It has to be a global effort.
And I think at the grassroots level, in grade schools, in preschool, grade school, high schools, and colleges, it has to be reinforced, where not only can you now aspire to be whatever you want, but you have to have the legal right and to have pay parity. I mean, sometimes they hire a woman, they say, we'll hire a woman, we're going to get her 50% less, it's going to be great.
Right.
And that's unlawful, and it's terrible.
And remember, women couldn't play sports in school until
right.
Title IX, until the government mandated it through the Civil Rights Act.
Right.
This is the genius of Gina Davis's work too, teaching little girls. I have a little girl myself, but teaching them from a very young age that that they can dream of doing whatever they want to, and the law stands behind them. And if they are looking out in the world and they're not seeing representations of women in the professions that they're excited about doing, then they may be reluctant to do it.
Right, and Gina makes a really great observation in the film that is it when we see 1 out of 3 main characters in a feature film are men, and we see so few women, or they're not there at all, is that why when we see 17% of women in Congress, we don't notice it? Or 2% of women in a boardroom, we don't notice it?
That's true. Become desensitized.
Yeah.
And I think everything reinforces everything else. And if you don't have a role model, an effective role model, as a youngster, you kind of lose sight of what it is. It happens racially, it happens with gender, it happens with everything. And your sexual preference, if you don't see that, you don't really attend to it. But I'm so grateful that you guys did this. This changes everything. U.S. premiere here at the East Hampton, at the Hamptons Film Festival. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
You guys are really honored to have you here. It's a great, great movie. We highly recommend it. We want everybody at home to see it. If there's a website that they can learn more about it, do you have a website that
Do we have a...
We actually haven't launched the website yet. We haven't launched our theatrical release of the film yet. But as we go through the festivals, you can go to creativechaosvmg.com to find more about the film. But we'll be launching a website soon.
Very good. So be on the lookout for that. Again, this changes everything. Documentary feature. It's 97 minutes, and it's well worth your time, effort, and pay attention to what the real message is, because this has to change everything.
Is this going out before tomorrow?
Yeah.
So we're playing at the Southampton Arts Center tomorrow at 5 p.m.
And it's a really wonderful film for men to watch. It's just a film that men are really loving as well as women are loving it. And
absolutely, because the message is for everybody. And do you have distribution?
We are working on it.
Okay, good.
Can't announce anything yet.
But the people at home, if you're working on it, there are people at home that
we'll be able to see it.
They'll be able to see it, but they can contact you.
Right now, go to creativechaosvmg.com, and that's where you'll get the up-to-date information.
If you're a distributor and you're interested in this quality product, by all means, reach out to them. They're well worth it. The last race. Now, the people here on the East End know this fabulous place in Riverhead Racetrack. And practically every guy, especially around my age, that would be like the definitive place to go. It would be, bring the cars down, rev them up, the adrenaline, the excitement, the girls, and the whole thing. And it's right here. It's like a few minutes away. We could actually go down the street a little bit, and we can be there in a few minutes. And I have the director, the producer, the welder, the grip, the public relations guy,
The
zip tie, Michael Dweck, and he's here, East Coast premiere. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
It's terrific. The last race, what made you, first of all, what made you do it?
Well, I was raised on Long Island and in Belmore, and I was raised next to a racetrack that was in Freeport. And that's where I went with my parents and brothers every Tuesday and Saturday night since I was 3 years old until I went to college.
And you still have your hearing, which is good.
No, actually I've lost my hearing. I lost my hearing making this film. The film took me 5 years to make, and that was one of the side effects of making that film. But it's racing was a very important part of my childhood. My heroes were on that racetrack, and when that racetrack was paved over by a Costco, that I lost a pretty important part of my childhood. So I had to take my bicycle 40 miles to the next racetrack in islip, and then when that track got paved over, there was only one
left. You kept moving east.
There's one left. I mean, Riverhead. At one point, there were 40 racetracks on Long Island.
Yes, and also the Big Mama, the Bridgehampton racetrack,
right, which I used to race at.
My brother-in-law, I think, had one of the last races there, and that had each turn. They had 7 turns from Bondurant, Le Mans. They had, and it was not you had to be a real race fan because you had to actually stand on the sidelines.
That's right.
and it wasn't like the NASCAR
That's right.
effect. So this is pre-NASCAR, pre all of the fluff and flow. It's like if you're a wrestling fan, and these are the Bruno Sammartino, you know, they would put sawdust on the floor and they would wrestle.
That's a good comparison.
And
it's true.
What you guys, what you documented was, or is, the excitement of something. If you were a kid and you had if you were a mechanic, or if you had you got your money together and you got a car, you could beat the hell out of somebody else.
You could be anybody.
You can be anybody.
That's
you can be
right.
a celebrity. And those
That's right.
guys had all of the trappings of celebrity in
That's
those
right.
days.
That's true.
For very
You're
little
right.
bucks.
That's true, because imagine, that's true. Imagine working class people, like you said, mechanics, tow truck operators,
Right.
could put a car together, and Saturday night you have 2,000 people, an announcer announcing your name.
Right.
At the end of the race, you're giving autographs out in the pits, and you have dignity, and your life has meaning. And that's why these things are important. I mean, the film is, of course, it's about racing, but more importantly, it's about communities.
It's an American.
It's very American.
It's an American product because you built it, you tweaked it, you took something that was basically a stock product,
That's right.
and you say, you know what, I'm going to put Chrysler Hemi in there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a Hearst shifter.
Be a little sneaky. I'm going to cheat a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to put better fuel, better,
That's right, and melt the tires with some gasoline, whatever it takes. But, how interesting is that you have people that have something to look forward to on Saturday night.
And a lot of innovation
That's right.
invention came from those tracks.
That is true. That's true. I mean, Riverhead, where Mario Andretti raced a lot. Richard Petty raced there a lot. Darrell Waltrip. I mean, a lot of people came. Racing started. The first racetrack in the entire country started around 1926. It was in Freeport, my home track. There was a boxing ring in the middle, and a stock car race on the outside of that.
And the Long Island wealthy, the people, the Gold Coast people, the Vanderbilts and all the like, they sailed. They had sailing, and then there was a proclivity for the automotive.
That's the
first thing, right?
The first race ever, it was in 1915, I believe. Vanderbilt, Cornelius Vanderbilt, wanted to promote the automotive industry, not racing, but automotive industry. And there was the Vanderbilt Parkway, the Vanderbilt Cup, the Vanderbilt Parkway that ran for 4 years.
Part of it's part of the Belt Parkway
It
now.
still is. Yeah, it still is. It still runs through some through Huntington, but that was an original track. And it was a very fast car, by the way. I think it went 100 miles an hour back then.
And I think at one of the New York State buildings, I think that some old homestead of one of the Vanderbilts, they have in the garage,
That's right, Huntington.
They have it in the garage.
That's
I
correct.
mean, it's like
And it's in mint shape.
mint
It's
shape.
still driven.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Here in town, we have the Bridgehampton Road Rally, which is coming up in the next couple of weeks, and the Historic Society has it. And they used to race through the streets here before they had the track built. And then I think one time they were running through the streets down Main Street, and the car skid on sand and went into a hay pile. Nobody got hurt.
Okay.
But they said, you know what? Instead of racing in the streets, why don't we build an effective track? And they got the Grumman engineers to build the Bridgehampton racetrack.
Yeah.
And that was like, but getting back to Riverhead,
I raced at that track.
You raced at it?
That's where I learned to race. It's now a golf course, by the way.
Golf course, and they complained about the people that built around it
Right.
didn't like the noise. It was highly restricted. The mufflers
Right.
were
But the track was there first. The tracks are always there first, by the way.
right.
Tracks are always there first. It's never noisy when there's trees surrounding it.
No.
But once you strip the trees down and build houses there, then it becomes a little noisy.
Right. It's
Same
not a
problem
golf
in Riverhead.
course.
That's
it's
right.
But getting back to the Riverhead racetrack, it's in jeopardy because
Yes.
the property. And I remember when there was nothing around it.
That's right. The cauliflower capital of the world, it says on the sign. That's what it says on the sign.
Yeah, I think the Cauliflower Association is not
That's
too far
correct.
away from that place.
Quarter of a mile.
But what happened is that property is worth much, much, much more than what the track is.
Yeah, it's
and in
worth
fact,
$10 million.
the track represents a blight on the community, and they want to make it.
Now it does. Now it does. But you imagine, so on that one street in Riverhead, that one was all agricultural. Horseradish and cauliflower has been decimated and deforested. So now what you have is big box stores. You have 2 Walmarts, a Lowe's, Home Depot, Holiday Inn, a 450 outlet center, Tanger Mall. I mean, everything has been completely developed and paved over. A 200,000 square foot Costco across the street, 110,000 square foot Christmas tree shop to its right. And so now you have left is this little racetrack that was there first since 1949 that is struggling for survival. That actually means a lot to this community. And that's what we're trying to do with this film. Well, that's what we're trying to do with this film. We're hoping now with the film, because it premiered at Sundance, it's going to have a release. Magnolia acquired it.
East Coast premiere here. But you got to see it. This is something that I know it has, it's sold out, but, and you have distribution, right? The film?
Magnolia acquired it. It'll be distributed nationwide November 16th, but there might be a surprise November 14th, but a big national surprise.
It's a great film. Go see it. You did a great job, Michael.
Thank you.
And do you have a website that people could learn more about it?
TheLastRaceTheFilm.com is our website. We're constantly putting updates. There's also a Facebook page for The Last Race Film as well.
Go see it. And I think we have a little teaser clip to follow this interview to give you an idea of the excitement. Again, thank you for being here. Enjoy the festival.
Thanks for having me.
And lots of luck with everything. I really appreciate it.
We don't look good. We like to go fast.
Bill Wegman Jr., second-generation driver in the pistol, Paul Parisi, getting ready to rumble.
This is really what it's all about, this intimate, emotional interplay between human beings.
I've always been in love with muscle cars since I was a kid.
It's in the blood. I followed my father's footsteps.
If you was to watch NASCAR in the 1970s, that's the cars we're racing today.
He's a regular guy, but he comes to the racetrack and he's a hero.
Going into the hospital, getting put into an ice tank. I remember the scrub downs. I remember every shower. That was the worst part.
With all those tracks, 99% of them are now defunct. They're gone.
This piece of property is worth millions of dollars.
Business coming in this way, it's going to squeeze them out.
Is God waving the caution flag in your life? Is he saying, I'm trying to get your attention?
Just a question of time before Jim and Barb would pass on and their kids allow us to develop the property.
When Riverhead goes, that will be the end of racing on Long Island. Green flag flies, dueling green flags from Mike Ricker. It's a drag race to turn number 1.
I just can't imagine the adrenaline that gets going when you strap yourself into a race car.
If you ever touch me again, I'll knock you down.
You never know what's going to happen.
Well, we have a world premiere here, an excellent movie. This movie's gotten so much buzz. Everybody on the street here is, hankering to know more about it, to see it. They're telling their friends about it. The Panama Papers, and we have the two principals here. We have Bob Friedman, and we have Alex Winter, two of the main principals here of the movie. And it is a English, Spanish, Icelandic, Maltese, Russian production. And I'm pretty sure you got a couple of guys from Brooklyn in there, right?
Yeah, yes. Brooklyn is representing. Alex has been busy traveling for the last 4 months, I have to say. Yeah.
First of all, how did you manage to corral everybody to do this?
Well, we started out with a relationship with McClatchy out of D.C. It was the largest coordinated act of journalism in history, this story. So it required traveling the world bulk of the last year and change, and talking to the several of the core reporters who broke the story. And there's no way we could have spoken to all 400. Ultimately there were over 600 journalists. And a documentary is usually about people, so we wanted to focus on human stories at the center of this. So we found people in those different countries that we wanted to talk to.
Was it difficult? I mean, were the people resistant? Or?
There's always challenges making a documentary. Everything was encrypted. We're not public with this movie. We didn't come out publicly with the fact that we were making it until very recently. So we kept it entirely under wraps, which means all of us production, their company's based in New York, we're based in LA, everything was done through encryption, and no media was sort of on open internet or anything like that. So we gained the trust of the sources because they knew that we were keeping, our security
Did you notice
tight.
any resistance from government or from other entities that
Yeah, there's always
brought the story
resistance.
out?
There are people who don't want to talk to you, on a documentary. So we encountered that.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting when we first thought about this, and we were a big fan of Alex's film Deep Web that he directed. That was just an amazing film. And it was interesting when because we had first met with the McClatchy folks and with Kevin, who's going to be here, as a matter of fact, later to do a panel with Alex. We were just blown away that hundreds of journalists could keep something such a secret across many continents and many meetings for so long.
It's happening today, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, it's interesting, and this just went on, and then all of a sudden when it broke, and we thought, this would be like an interesting film, and we spoke to Alex, we realized that what had started, in 2016 was still continuing today and was so relevant for what was going on today, despite the fact that we've lost, as a result of this film and the largest leak, I think it was 11 million documents or so. We lost the Prime Minister, we lost a president.
A couple of prime ministers, yeah.
You'll see in the film there are a couple people in Russia who probably are not thrilled. There are a lot of bodies.
Yeah, I mean, there were people that did, there were some journalists that were under direct threat. One journalist was killed, and it was a story we didn't take. We took it very seriously. We're very careful about how we made it, and obviously we were careful around certain governments that we knew were not sympathetic to this story. You just have to be careful.
You have a track record of killing journalists. And what
Yeah.
else are you gonna do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were also, very lucky. Laura Partridge had done, as you know, WikiLeaks, and was an old friend, I think, of Alex's, and heard about this story and thought it was great to come in and work with us. And, then all of a sudden, in the middle of this whole thing, the Pulitzer Prize goes to all the folks who had done this. So sort of things were lined up to tell the story. It's not easy to tell a story anymore with independent film.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as recently as within the last month, the Prime Minister of Pakistan was put in jail for, was sentenced to 10 years in jail. That's a direct result of the Panama Papers leak and the story that they uncovered. And so there are daily, Paul Krugman wrote an article about Panama Papers in the New York Times yesterday. So there are daily issues.
You don't have to worry about the audience because there are people that are starving for the information, valid information about it.
Yeah.
And I think that you guys are on the right track. It's beautifully done.
Thank you.
It's not only a documentary, but it's shot very well, and it's entertaining, even if you have no political.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want to make medicine or make you eat your vegetables.
Right. We're not doing what is that? Take your tonic.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's and Walt Disney said he'd rather do infotainment to educate people than to do a strictly an educational product or something that is strictly like a bunch of clowns dancing around on screen.
And there's probably no better time that all these millennials, I have kids who are of this age who are really understanding how government works and some of this stuff happens. So I think the timing is perfect really for...
Well, I think they're much more aware than our generation because we were more, I don't know if we were more trusting, but we assumed that, the government was on our side.
There's more complacency, I think, and I think that this generation is also very aware that they are, heading into a world that is going to be very challenging for them, from the price of education to, healthcare. I have a 20-year-old who's already looking at getting out of college and just thinking, how the hell am I going to do this? And, I don't know how he's going to do it. I guess he's going to live with me, probably.
I know. I just got my oldest son went to Tisch Film School.
So that's where I went.
Oh, yeah?
That's my alma mater.
interns are from Tisch.
Yeah, I went to Tisch.
2007.
No, I went about 400 years before that, but yeah.
And what happened was he just he got a job immediately with Sony and was promoted through that. But I told him, I said, and he has a daughter now, and I said, Joseph, I said, I just got the notice that your student loans are all paid off. Because I was in first position.
Yeah.
And he thanked me, and so thanks, Dad, because my credit is so terrific. That's
Yeah.
the NYU, feedback.
Yeah, exactly. I think it took me about 15 years to pay off my NYU loans.
But anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. You having fun here in the
It's amazing. I mean, the weather's fantastic. It's so beautiful here. So
and you guys have distribution for this terrific
we do. We
movie.
can't actually say what that is yet. We're not allowed to. Not till Monday.
Yeah, and we have international distribution too.
Yeah.
That we can talk about.
terrific.
Yeah, which is great, and it's obviously we think in a
And the
in a good
The global stories.
The website again is
PanamaPapersDoc.com.
not the Panama.
I can't remember. That's a good question.
Yeah. I think it may be the.
It may be. Yeah. Yeah.
Panama
But you'll find it.
You'll
anyway.
find it.
Google. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really terrific. Again, we have Robert Friedman and Alex Winter, the two guys that made this beautiful movie, beautiful documentary, world premiere. Don't walk to go see it, run to go see it, and bring your kids, bring your parents, because it is really an amazing piece of work that you should see.
It is the corporate use of this system that protects the criminals who use the same system.
We're looking at easily the biggest leak in history in terms of the size. We're looking at more than 11 million documents.
Tell him that a group of around 20 or 25 international journalists is in front of your building.
Who doesn't love cats? Everybody loves cats. I'm here with the cat rescue team. Half of it anyway. Steve Lawrence.
Right.
And you know his wife, Edie Gomez, correct?
No, my wife is Helen Garrett.
Helen Garrett is
sitting
right over there. And these are people that I know from Brooklyn, actually. And they're members of the community. They're community-minded, every which way. But the main thing you guys are into is cat rescuing, which is terrific.
Well, it's not my vocation. I'm a documentary filmmaker.
But you like cats.
We do like cats. We have 2 cats at home, and we have 10 cats outside, who are all cats. They're all feral cats. They're part of our colony now, and that's how the film started.
Now, people that don't know about feral cats and the whole deal, is it okay to feed them if they come by your home and they hang out on your porch?
Well, if you're going to feed them, you should only be feeding them once they've been spayed or neutered, because otherwise they are going to procreate and multiply like crazy, and what was a small problem will become a huge problem.
So that's the thing of it.
Well, that's part of the message of the film, although we did not make an issue film or an investigative documentary. There is a technique called trap, neuter, return, TNR, and the idea is that you take these feral and abandoned cats, you make sure that they get spayed and neutered so that they can't multiply, and you return them
But they don't declaw them and that type of
No, you don't want to declaw an outdoor
that's a
cat
defense,
because the outdoor cat needs to be able to hunt and defend itself. And
Terrific. And I know this is a subject near and dear to you and Helen's hearts. What made you get into this to make such a beautiful documentary? It's an exquisite film.
Well, what happened is that we moved into a house, in the Bay Ridge section of Brooklyn.
Right.
And the second day we were there, we went to our back door and we discovered there was a mama cat and 3 kittens sitting there staring at us.
So the back porch.
Yes, yes. And they didn't move the whole day. They just sat there looking at us, imploring us to feed them.
Oh, boy.
And we thought, what are we going to do about this? Well, if we start feeding them, they're going to come back. And so this went on for a couple of days. And finally, on the 3rd day, Helen broke down in tears.
Oh.
And she said, we've got to feed them. They're so hungry. These animals need our help. And I said, okay, I don't know what we're getting into, but let's go ahead and feed them. And we subsequently discovered there were other cats. There was another mama cat with kittens coming to our door as well. Of course, word gets out if you're feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to figure out what to do. None of these cats had been spayed or neutered. When you have a spayed or neutered cat, its ear gets clipped. It's called ear tipping. So you can immediately recognize a cat that has been...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. None of these cats had been spayed or neutered. We started to call around. We knew a few people who knew something about this, and we began to get educated. Part of our education was to clean up our own neighborhood, our own block.
Right.
And over a period of a year, mostly Helen's doing, we trapped and neutered 35 cats, and we ended the population explosion. There have been no kittens on our block in over 3 years. Anyway, along the way, I discovered something that shocked me, which is that there are something like 500,000 street cats in New York City, and the problem's not getting any better. And that's because very few people know about trap, neuter, return, and the city isn't putting resources into it, not to the extent that they could or should. And we discovered that there are hundreds of activists, people who love animals, who have taken matters into their own hands. So you have rescuers all over the 5 boroughs, although less so in Manhattan, who make a point of going out as often as they can and trapping these cats, getting them spayed and neutered, and if they're kittens, they get them adopted out. And so this is the most humane way to reduce the population.
Now, feral cat cannot be domesticated.
No, that's not true. That's kind of a myth. It's better to get them when they're under 3 months old.
Right.
And they can be socialized indoors if they're that age pretty easily. But even if they're older, even 1 or 2 years, we've seen many feral cats that adapt to being in a home and develop a normal domestic cat's life. So
cool
it's not
That's
impossible.
terrific.
But the film got started from this experience of having to deal with the problem in our own home and right on our own block. And I thought, gosh, very few people know about this. We saw it on our own block that everybody was feeding the cats and nobody knew what to do about the problem. There just isn't enough education.
But you can't resist. They come up to the back.
No, of course not. Okay, and it's hard to find somebody who doesn't
It's the
love
only
animals.
cats, incidentally, that eat pizza, right? Up on 5th Avenue, there's an excellent pizzeria.
Maybe. I mean,
I'm
I haven't.
kidding. They don't do that. But
And so I decided there's an interesting story here. And we didn't want to make an issue documentary. We didn't want to make an investigative film about the problem. We wanted to make a character-driven film.
It's fun to see. I mean, the movie's very well done. And your background in documentaries, did you go to film school? Or were you
I went to film school many decades ago, and NYU.
Oh, good. My son graduated from NYU, 2007.
Oh, it's great. Of course, I've made many films as a producer and director. I decided on this particular film to team up with Rob Friedman, who's another established documentary filmmaker, won the Sundance Best Documentary Film Award several years ago. I had known him slightly. One of the people who helped us learn about rescuing said to me, you should talk to my friend Rob.
So you collaborated.
about making a film. And she also said, if you do this film, I'll get you the money.
Oh, that's great.
And that was like catnip to our ears. but of course, no sooner had she said that than she disappeared, and we never got the money.
Oh.
And we just decided to go ahead to find 3 or 4 people who are in the rescue community, and that's over 3 or 4 months we found Sassy, Claire, Stu, and Tara, who are the rescuers in the film. We began filming, and we continued for almost 4 years.
And they're dedicated people that are community-minded.
Yes, these are people who have incredible heart and dedication to what they do. They love animals, but none of them knew what they were getting into when they started.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a joke in the cat rescue community, which is it's like the mafia. Once you get in, you can't get out.
Right.
And you know, once somebody on your block or in your neighborhood knows you're the cat person,
And they always say, leave the cat, take the cannoli, right? Is that what they say? Don't leave the cat, take the cannoli.
that one I haven't heard. That's new to me, but I'll try it out on them. Maybe they know it. I'm sure they'd all appreciate a few cannolis.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't put cat food in the cat's mouths or litter in the litter boxes.
So I want to tell the people at home, I'm going to compel them to go and see The Cat Rescuers, world premiere. It's 87 minutes, documentary feature, and Steve Lawrence is the director, co-director with Bob.
Producer. Rob Friedman is the other director.
And your wife is...
Helen Garrett is a creative consultant on the film, my wife. And this was a family affair. Right. And Rob and I, with some support from Helen and a few other people, really just did the film on our own.
Well, we really appreciate you being here. Enjoy the Hamptons.
Okay, great.
Stay tuned. You're watching the Hamptons International Film Festival right here on Hamptons TV. Is that too many Hamptons in one sentence? I don't know, but stay tuned.
Industry mixer. My name is Diana Cherryholmes. I work for Suffolk County, and I work with my team on the Suffolk County Film Commission. We have a number of members here. The man holding the microphone, Greg Sullivan. We have Greg Pace. We have Lenny Stucker, who's taking photographs. Amanda Ramirez, where are you? Raise your hand.
There she is.
We have Susan Gotti. Raise your hand, Susan. We have Julie Stone, who left, and this event really takes a lot of support from many people. We have the Commissioner of Parks, and here, Phil Berdahl, and Carrie Albee, who is my liaison in the Parks Department. So if you're interested in any Suffolk County parks, this is your opportunity to speak with them today. We have so many parks assets that is just beautiful. Congratulations to the Hamptons International 26th Film Festival. I've seen a couple of films. You filmmakers are creating such beautiful content. Congratulations, and we're really delighted that you came to the Hamptons. We also have a lot of people to thank for making this event possible. Naomi at 91 East Productions, Greg at the Hamptons International Film Festival, Greg at Kismet Films, Casa de Vinos, Howes of New York, Lenny, Greg Shimizi, WVVH-TV, the West Hampton Beach Brewing Company, Cidarella's Copia Granola. We have a lot to give away, so please take them. They're really good, and the Nutty Irishman. And we lost our serving license, so that's why you are not receiving all those wonderful wines and beer. So we hope you enjoy the Coca-Cola and hydrate yourself with Hal's. That's very healthy. And Cidarella's has provided an awesome display. Thank you very much. We hope to see you next year.
Thank you. I'm here with a great friend of mine, Lorenzo Renna.
Hello.
And Lorenzo is a multi-talented guy. He's a businessman here in town, in East Hampton, in Wainscott. And he has like Ampanina, which is a...
small little pizzeria.
Yes, very, very small. Everybody on earth goes in there. He has every celebrity. It's a great place. I think that is a networking place for the industry. Have every
Yeah,
film...
of course. Yeah, we get like a quiet few directors and actors coming in every once in a while. Nice celebrities. Get some famous people, of course, you know.
His pizza is so good that I bring the pizza from here to Brooklyn for my sons. And my son says, boy, this is delicious. Where is it, Dad? I says, it's back in Wainscott. And he and his family have been running this place terrific. But not only is he a talented pizzaiolo and a wonderful Siciliano that I'm really proud of, but he made this beautiful movie about a beautiful child called I Am Evan. And if you
There's
can...
a little guy right here.
There he is, as Evan. And it's a beautiful story. I'm going to have you just describe a little bit why you did it. And,
Well, the whole thing was like me and another friend of mine. We were trying to make it like this little mob film. I had this passion from a long time ago. Back in my own town, Palermo, Sicily, we had like a big industry or big production coming in, and they were filming like a major film. And I got a little bite of it. Somebody interviewed me. You know, basically from there, I learned a lot, you know. So I had that passion in my soul, you know what I mean? So I had to do something. But anyway, from there, me and other friends, we started doing like a little short film called cortometraggio in Italian. And, you know, from there, like, I did like a little sets like in theater, let's say, in school and little things like that. And then, you know, the passion grew more and more and more. And when I came to the States, I got invited, you know, in by my aunt, and I kind of let it go a little bit because I also had the passion of the food, which is also embedded into my soul. You know what I mean? Film. You know, two big Fs, you know, film and food. It's great.
They go well together. But, and whatever you do with artistic flair and with such competence that it's amazing. And you're all like self-taught.
Actually, I did my own school. You know, I know that I should have taken some time off and go maybe to a film school, maybe NYU, would offer classes and things like that. But it was not for me. It was never for me.
You have it inside you.
Exactly. It's more like a nature. I don't know how to explain it. Also good musically. I'm pretty good with music, so I know how to follow tempo and all that. So you put these things together, so you learn how to editing and do things like that. Very low budget kind of stuff, you know.
Which
so I
brings
start.
us to Evan. So the Evan Project, are you friends with the family? Or?
Yes, absolutely. We're friends, we're best friends. And like I said, one day me and another friend of mine, we were set to do like this mob film or whatever, you know. And it didn't work out.
You cast my brother and myself in it or something. All I know, we had to bring a box of cannolis somewhere. I don't know what it was.
And a pencil, you know.
And a pencil.
To stab somebody.
To stab somebody. But he says, put it in the violin case. Like, I know. I don't know what that is. Just bring it.
So anyway, my wife, she always big influence on me, you know. She always told me, why are you gonna be bothered with these little things here and there? Why don't you make it like a nice movie about Evan, you know? And I said, yeah, that would
she
be.
Always has great ideas.
Oh yeah, she's a really big influence, Diane, on me.
You've been married how long?
Over 21 years, if I remember. Oh, whatever. I lose count. Anyway. Yeah, definitely. You know. And she's a great businesswoman as well. So she had a good advice for me, and she goes like, go over there, shoot something. I said, I don't know how am I gonna put this, because it was not a normal thing to me. You know, I couldn't connect. Exactly.
So, this is Evan's mom.
Yes.
Yes. Hi.
First of all, Evan on film, I never met him personally, but on film, he is a treasure. He's really something. And these children are really gifts. It's something that it's hard to explain, but they're like angels among us. And your family and what you've done, you've really his work blossomed. Here's an example of Evan's artwork.
Looks like an angel.
It does. It looks like an angel there. And it's beautiful. And he's come a long way. And it's really remarkable. So what is Evan like? What makes him so special?
Evan is just a very special little boy. He enjoys everything. He loves everybody he meets. Everything that he does is just done with so much focus and amazing. He never feels sorry for himself. He sees the absolute joy in every day and everything, and he just spreads it to everybody that knows him. And that's why Lorenzo and his wife have been so involved in Evan from the birth that it was only natural that he would do this, and he did a great job.
Evan is about, what, 14 now?
He's 12. He was 12 in May, yes. And
what does he think when he looks at the documentary about him?
I think he gave some tips along the way, Lorenzo.
Well, absolutely, you know. Well, the whole thing is based on more like the spirituality of it, you know what I mean? To think about it as the disabled fella. It wouldn't be not fair to go towards that direction. It's more like the spirituality and the joy that it gives you. So in a sense, like when you enter the couple's houses and you see
some head of hair on him.
Oh, he's
That's
like
some head of hair.
He's
Jeez, he's got that flip or whatever it is. It's terrific.
She has beautiful children.
When you're in the presence of him, he is just joy and love, and he is a sense of calming. And you know, he was told, like, Adrian's mom is the narrator pretty much, and he was told can't, and all negative stuff about him, but he just shines through and says, I can, this is what I can do.
Well, that's the key, because a lot of the restrictions society puts on any disability is really a sin, because everybody has worth, and what you demonstrate, and I think the love that the family and the community around the child, really it blossoms, and I think that you did a great job. Very proud of you, Lorenzo.
Thank you, Greg. You're a good friend.
Sometimes we joke around, but films like this are very important. They're made here in the county. I'm one of the commissioners, and we're part of the film festival. But being you're a member of the community here, it should be supported. And how can people see the movie? How can you enjoy the movie?
Well, right now it's just listed on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and look for I Am Evan.
The full feature is right there.
Yeah, full. Well, it's actually not a feature. It's a short film. It's 13-something minutes.
A little documentary.
Yeah, because I was not, and a big part of me was not about money. It was not about money. It was on me.
To tell the story.
To tell the story. Do something great.
Is Evan interested in making movies?
I think he might be looking for a sequel.
Son of Evan.
Yeah, you never know.
Very good. He might do a feature on you at the pizzeria, which I'd love to see.
That would be great.
It'd be good when it's say Friday night and you got 1,000 orders going out, and you're saying, and you're there with the,
what am I?
Lineat.
Actually, I'm gonna say, what am I doing here with this?
That might be a horror movie. You don't want to go back there. But I'm really proud of you. I'm so so happy that you're here. You're a great guy.
Thank you for the opportunity, Greg.
And
really appreciate it.
Should be supported. Go for the movie I Am Evan. Look at it on YouTube. Here he is right here.
Yep. The little poster.
Directed by Lorenzo Renna. A story of hope.
I smiled to myself at the sound of his laughter. Then I began to think, what was the laughing about? After all, he can't see, just shadows, or so the masters of science, aka doctors, etc., tell us. He can't hear, he can't speak or verbalize, he can't walk, he can't eat or drink, he's peg-fed, can't fend for himself, can't. What a lot of can'ts. So what is the laughter about? Then my mind started to really think. That's always a dangerous thing. Seriously, though, it was like a switch was turned on, and I realized the truth. This child sees no evil, hears no evil, speaks no evil. Wow, pure spirit. So, who is he laughing with? Who is he seeing? Who is he hearing? Angels. I'm very sure they're his playmates. Though in the physical world he is blind, deaf, and nonverbal. Spirit, the real Evan, I believe is so wise. He could teach us so much.
I have the pleasure of being here with filmmaker Gerry Ferretti. With a name like Ferretti, it can't be bad, right,
That's
Gerry?
right. That's right.
A good-looking guy. Originally from where? What part of?
Massapequa. Grew up in Massapequa.
See, the Baldwin brothers, you.
Yeah.
I mean, the girls must have been crazy in that town.
I knew Alex's dad very, very well. He was my teacher in 11th grade. He taught me. I also have a talk show called Nobody's Talking Politics, and I got into politics because of Alex's dad. He actually introduced me to it. He was
His father and mom were two outstanding people.
Yes.
And the father is still with us?
No, unfortunately not. He was a terrific man. He was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, he must have had the same sense of humor as his son.
Oh yeah.
They used to play this game among the brothers that they would say, "He's got the gun" or something like. Do you ever play that game with them?
No.
And they would yell that out at random, and then all the other brothers would gang up on, like, to try to apprehend him, like, 1960s or 70s cop shows would do,
Right.
But it was terrific. Great family.
Yes.
Well, we're here with Gerry because Gerry is in process of making a film, and since I'm one of the film commissioners, we're always interested in making films here in Suffolk County.
Mm-hmm.
And you fill the bill. You're making it in Suffolk County.
It's actually pretty much done.
Pretty finished.
Yeah, it's pretty finished. We're in the final editing stages, just some sound issues, but it's pretty much finished. And it was filmed in Nassau and Suffolk County.
Okay.
It's called The Mark.
Great T-shirt. Mark.
The Mark the Movie.
Mark the Movie. Is that the website if people want
You can go to www.themarkthemovie.com. You can go on YouTube and see the trailer.
Okay.
It's a throwback to the old film noir, Humphrey Bogart type movies, the murders like that. It's a murder love story, really. It's a love triangle, quadrangle.
It's a Hamptons story, I would say.
It's exactly right.
A love triangle, which we like. And what made you make it? Did you write it?
I wrote it, yes.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's terrific. And the idea of doing it, to be like an true independent producer and director and filmmaker, I give you credit because it's not a thing that you could say, oh, I'm gonna bake a cookie or something like that.
You have to 150 million% commit to every aspect of this, especially as an ultra low budget film, because you're really doing everything. And I was very fortunate to have a terrific cast that I've met through my years in the theater. And I was able to bring them on board, perfectly cast people, very talented people, and it made all the difference because I really feel it was a great script, and bringing in this cast, team effort from the community, people that gave me locations, that let me film in their establishments. It really, we were very fortunate. We have some beautiful locations in Suffolk County and Nassau County.
Well, we really appreciate that, and we always say, make your next film, because everybody has at least one film in them. Make your next film here in Suffolk County.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it, Gerry.
Thank you.
And be on the lookout for, again,
The Mark.
He's like, this reminds me of Hercules Unchained with Steve Reeves. You look like Steve Reeves a little bit. Yeah. So my brother and I saw that movie maybe about 500 times. We enjoyed it. All that styrofoam, when he would take down the pillars.
Great.
It was great. And the styrofoam would be hitting him off the chest. But this movie's not like that.
It's not like that at all, no.
I think that movie my brother and I are going to make because we have plenty of styrofoam at home. But thanks again for being on.
Thank you for having me.
And Gerry Ferretti, show that film again?
The Mark.
TheMovie.com.
So on YouTube you can see the trailer. And
we're going to enjoy seeing that movie. here. I'm lucky to be here with Jane Martin,
Yes.
and the movie is Love, right?
It's called What is Love?
What is Love?
Yes.
That's a good. There was a movie. There was a song that said, "Oh no, that was what does love have to do with it?" Right?
Yeah, there's a few songs and poems and literature about love, just a few.
And she's up in the Springs where I live, great community.
Yeah.
And you're in the process of making this movie, or you finished the movie?
We've finished filming 150 participants, mostly from the area, some from New York City and other places, but a great mix of people, ages 3 to 95, and
tell us
all
about
different
what
cultures.
the movie's about.
Well, I decided I needed to learn more about love, so I decided to make a documentary and sit my friends down, and that expanded. And I ended up asking 12 questions about love, and no one knew when they came in what they were going to be interviewed about. They had no idea what the subject was, so it was a total surprise. And the material was so rich, and we ended up interviewing 150 people. Alec Baldwin is in the film, Mercedes Rules, Rodney Yee, Linda LaPlante, and it was so rich that it became a series. So it's now a 7-part series.
Really? Terrific.
And the episodes range from like 35 to 45 minutes.
And they're on YouTube or Vimeo?
It's a private link to video at the moment. I'm looking for distribution to a streaming platform because
but that's a great idea, and it's something that it's thought-provoking. People kind of you hit at that subject from there's parental love, there's being a child, love for a parent, a grandparent, a disabled parent.
The concentration was on romantic love. But of course, other elements came in as people talked about their dogs and their children and their parents.
Love, no matter what the target is basically at the core is something that
of existence.
It is, and it's something you really can't learn. It's something that comes from within. It's something that's part of our nature.
Well, and it's also very difficult to describe. Really, what I was attempting to do with the film was to create a dialogue, create a conversation about love, and I think that's important in our times. It's a good counterpoint to what's going on in the world.
Right. And you're an artist.
I'm a multimedia artist, so this is my second documentary, and I also do photography, video stills, video installation, and paint. So
how come you're not doing anything?
No, but I've been working for 4 years on this project, and so
it's a labor of love.
It's a labor of love,
all right.
and
there's another use of the word love.
I know it's definitely a labor of love, and it's got a beautiful look. I used graffiti from around the world, love graffiti that we've found all over the world to break up the interviews. And I worked with Alex Mankiewicz, who's the daughter of Joseph Mankiewicz, who 4-time Oscar winner, who came on. He's dead. She's actually in Japan at the moment. But
that's a great person to collaborate with. That's
right.
Terrific. And your next project, what are you working on next?
Well, I have a lot of other questions that I could, but first I've got to get this one to a streaming platform and get it out into the world.
That's great.
And,
well, if there's any distributors out there, they can reach you. What's
Here we
your
are.
website?
Best way to reach me is at my email, which is Jane W. Martin, MARTIN, at mac.com.
Jane W. Martin at mac.com.
Or there is info at whatislovedoc.com.
Okay, info at whatislovedoc.com.
Whatislovedoc.
Documentary.com. One of my favorite festivals outside of this one, but the real nitty-gritty, where you could sit there and have docs all day long, and I don't budge from my seat. Is that right, Jackie?
That's true. I see you right there.
Jaci Lofaro, executive director of the Hamptons Take Two Film Festival, and it's in its
11th year.
11 years. Terrific.
Yeah.
Getting better and better.
And we're changing our name, Greg.
To?
Hamptons Doc Fest. After 10 years of Take Two, which many people didn't really know what it meant or why I named it that, there was a decision to shorten it, make it more modern. So
that's a great idea.
Hamptons Doc Fest. So Take Two is gone, although people will still call us Take Two, I'm sure. But you'll now see we have a new beautiful logo that Walter Bernard designed, and
Terrific.
So new website, new everything.
So it's Hamptons
Doc
Fest.
Simple.
Terrific.
Short, simple.
And you registered the trademark and everything?
Well, we're keeping the old one as the IRS thing, but yeah.
But register that.
Yes, we are.
Because my brother and I have registered so many things in this town. I think that.
You don't have that one.
No, we missed that one. We should have got that one.
You should have got it. Then we'd buy it.
Getting back to the festival.
Yes.
The lineup that you have planned for this year is exceptional. You work the minute the festival closes. You are
start again,
and you don't have like 500 people working on this.
No, I have a handful, a core team that is unbelievable, wonderful,
dedicated,
including
Matt Hindra.
Central to the whole operation.
He does everything. He does the website.
Right.
He does the.
And if he doesn't know how, he'll figure it out.
Right,
which is great.
No, he's exceptional. I said to Matt, I told his father, I says, I would adopt him in a minute. In a minute, I would, because he is amazing. He's
you have to get in line though, for the adoption.
I know. I tried years ago for Eric Glanbar, but
it was taken.
He was taken.
Right.
And,
no, this year we're going to have a great festival, and we have a lot of biography documentaries. And I can't tell you who because we haven't revealed the program yet.
Right.
The dates of the festival, November 29 to December 3, 5 days. And the 5th day, Monday, is the Douglas Elliman Community Day. All the films are free. All the popcorn is free.
Gregg, you have Bayside Television, which is a grassroots, community-based television that is exceptional. I watch it all the time. It's a great community thing. But you've always been a community guy. You've always been extremely community-minded. So tell the viewers at home about it and what you do. We're so proud of it.
It's a very strange thing. 10 years at CBS Television, local news, network news, 60 Minutes. Then I went out and worked in the film industry for years. Went back to Bayside where I grew up, kind of take care of my mom before she passed away. And I just got involved with the community. I had gotten very depressed. And I kept saying, oh my God, the town really needs something. So I just started taking out the camera and doing videos of the Little League parades and interviews with people and calling them the living legends of Bayside. And simple things that you can do. There was some bars that a band would play in every now and then. So I started doing music videos of the band and then putting it out there as the Bayside music scene. And now suddenly Bayside has a music scene. They had a couple of bands that were playing in the bars. But little things like that have made a huge difference. And the economy perked up. Everybody's kind of attributing it to our work. So I'm pretty happy with it. And I love that you're following it.
No, and I watch it if you're on FaceTime, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Gregg Sullivan, Gregg with 2 G's. And you won't be disappointed. He's really an amazing communicator, a broadcaster.
Thank you very much.
But in the real traditional sense, the story is the star behind the thing, which is great. And I'm really proud of you, and thanks for being here. And the film festival, you've been coming year after year.
Every year after year, yep, I love it.
And have you seen anything yet?
It's like part of my biorhythm. You know, every year, you know what time of the year it is, you come into the film festival.
You buy a pumpkin, pick an apple, come out here.
But look, I was really more interested in the discussions this year than some of the films. Damien Chazelle, look at this guy, did La La Land, 16 nominations, 6 Academy Awards, and one of his first films out. That's pretty cool. So I'm seeing him tomorrow. And then Emilio Estevez, and he did the thing with Alec, with the public. So I'm going to see what he has to say. But so I'm always interested in that stuff.
We're here out in front of Guild Hall, and years ago they used to have the event, and they would not tell people who they were going to interview, and we would have to guess. And the guests, you know, was Elvis, some other, Marlon Brando. It never happened. But you're here online to look at what? What do you?
Ben, we're going to see Ben is Back.
Ben is Back. And this isn't the Ben of Michael Jackson fame, right? Where he sang that song, Ben? No. Okay. And what did you hear about the movie and what part you had?
Well, Julia Roberts is in it. That was really all I had to hear, but I think it's an interesting subject and timely.
And what other movies have you seen?
We saw The Hate You Give, which was very good.
Excellent.
And we saw, what was it called? Nonfiction.
And you come out, you've been coming out to the festival often?
Yes.
And you've enjoyed the, it's one of the best kept secrets in the film industry, don't you think, to come out to East?
I didn't know it was a big secret. A lot of people here, but
I know,
it's
what are all
really,
these people
it's
doing?
really fun. It's really fun.
Great. Well, we really appreciate you coming out. Thank you, and enjoy the film.
Thank you.
Now here's a Yankee fan. Hey, look, we got a Yankee fan. So will they go all the way?
Keep your fingers crossed. Tonight's a big game.
I know.
You got to win tonight to have a chance.
You know, and I hope they sweep it with that Boston guys, because.
Well, we're not going to sweep it. We got to get 3-1.
Three more.
We got to get 3 more to 1.
Okay, we're going to go all the way, and I think the Babe Ruth curse is still in effect.
Well, no, we lost it in 204.
204, that's true. But I love the hat. I love the look.
Thank you.
And let's go Yankees, right?
Go Yankees. Stepson produced the movie.
Your stepson produced the movie. A very talented stepson.
Very talented.
I'm going to go home and beat my children.
Tell them to start producing.
Yeah, they got to do something. It's really amazing. My youngest one's still looking for work. Well, he's still young. He's 33, so he's still a baby. Cold Ted is right.
We're always looking to get new actors.
Right. Well, I tell you, you hear a lot of good things about this movie, and you know,
I hope it's as good as people say.
Well, you'll hear it. When your son is here today,
No, I think it's the director. He didn't have to see today. If he's having a question and answer.
That's right. That's right.
Now, our son is still in L.A. He
So-
went to Toronto when it was
When it
first
opened in
released.
Toronto.
Did he go to film school or South?
No, he's a lawyer by training.
A lawyer.
He learned the film
All right,
business.
that's good. That's good. Good to be a lawyer. It's good.
These days, who knows?
It's good. In fact, I'm suing a few people as I go down the line.
Okay, there you go. Looking for a good lawyer.
They'll look, especially in this town. This town, historically, neighbors, they were not malevolent, but they would sue each other. It would be like part of the fabric of the early history of this town.
Popular culture.
That's right. Witchcraft and that. Yeah. Two big things. Well, enjoy the movie.
Thank you very much.
And let's go. I hope to see the Yankees
Win it all.
Win it all, but I don't want to jinx anything. Well, that was some show. Thank you for joining us here on Hamptons Television with the Hamptons International Film Festival. Be sure to reach out to their website, hamptonsfilmfest.org, for more information and to find out a lot more about the films. And please support the Hamptons International Film Festival. Thank you.